Silver is dancing on the razor's edge. We got to talk about the most important levels right now, because things could turn really quickly in either direction with silver. But I also want to talk today for the very first time about the ultimate bull case for silver, the ultimate demand driver for the coming decades that nobody's talking about right now. If you hear this, you will understand why the silver price will go up significantly in the coming years. Let's get into it. Welcome to Hot Trades of the Day, your show for swing trading ideas for the coming days, weeks, and month. Welcome to Hot Trades of the Day. My name is Daniel Helm, and if you're thinking, wait a minute, what kind of color combination is that? Blue shirt, orange tie, what? Wait a minute. Are those Knicks colors? Yes, they are. Let's go Knicks. Conference finals against Cleveland, game 1 tonight. We're going to win. We're going to the NBA finals, and we're going to beat the San Antonio Spurs because everybody's scared about Wemby. I'm not scared about Wemby. He's French. When have the French ever won anything? So, with that, let's get into silver and jump right into it. This is the daily chart. And as you can see, we are literally right on the razor's edge. What's going to happen in the next days in this week going to determine the direction of the silver price in the next weeks to come, maybe even month, we'll see. Because as you can see, we are fighting with the uptrend that has pushed the silver price higher since about 2 months ago, since March. We tested it twice successfully. We tested it yesterday successfully, very successfully, and I mean very because we undercut it and then it got bought up and we closed above it and we closed above the 50-day right here. Also important. But today again, as you can see, no follow through. That is an issue. And that is something that we need to watch very careful. So if we lose the 50-day and we break below the uptrend, things turn negative quite significantly. And you'll say, well, wait a minute, that has been in place for 2 months. I mean, that's not great, but that's no disaster. Hold on for a second. Let's put in a trend line that nobody's talking about. And I haven't put it in because, to be quite honest, and that's how we roll here, I didn't see it and the March one was good enough. But now what is going on with my higher highs, lower highs, higher lows, lower lows? Look at the red and the yellow semicircle things. I think they're drunk. Okay. Well, you know what it is. So this is what's really important right here. If we take the low from the fall correction, which is basically how this whole party in December, January started, and we draw it out, what do you see? We got a trend line that we have on the weekly tested significantly, repeatedly successful. And it's basically the same area, let me switch back to the daily, where the short-term trend line is. So that's why it's okay if we work with a short-term trend line in this case. But as you can see, we break below the 50-day, we break these two trend lines, the silver price is in real trouble, especially this lower green trend line. Now, you know what? Let me make this in a different color just here, so you can see it a little better. We break the purple trend line. The silver price is in real trouble. Now, in terms of higher lows and higher highs, nothing really happens until we undercut this blue zone right here. If we stop at $73 an ounce and things turn around and we regain that purple long-term uptrend, that again, we zoom out, right, has been in place since the lows and the beginning of this whole silver rally here, since October, right? And when you hear the people, and this is why this is significant, talk about, oh, we're going to go back to $50 an ounce, this is what they're talking about, right? And this line is, obviously, you can long-term draw this all the way back, but we don't need to do that. Then you can't see anything in the chart anymore. You get the point. Let's make this blue. Blue like the Knicks. Let's go Knicks. I'm so excited. So, that is why this trend line, the purple trend line, is so important. It's the trend line that developed out of this consolidation base, which gives the long-term correction potential that is around $50 to $53, depending how fast we get there. So, one thing, really quick, that is a possibility. I think it's a low probability that we will get there, but it's a possibility. But I want to say one thing, and if you just take this one point with you from the silver video, you'll already be way ahead of the majority of the silver investors, which, as you know, is large, has a large portion of retail investors, private investors like us in there as well. And that is, everybody and their mama are talking about $50 silver. When that happens, there is no way silver is stopping exactly at $50. It's either going to turn way before that, which is what I would think would happen, or it'll undercut it to do a major liquidity grab. So you want to adjust your strategy, because remember, the silver market is small. The institutions know how to play it. There's a reason why we have these silver spikes when the shorties, the institutional shorties, get squeezed. They can influence the silver market. They go on YouTube. They see that everybody's talking about $50 silver, retest of the breakout, blah, blah, blah. So, if I've learned anything in the past 25 years since I've been in the markets, the first thing is, it never, ever, ever stops exactly where the majority of the people think the market will go. So, even if you believe you're going to 50, and that's a fair assessment, I'm not going to fight you on it. Again, I think low probability, but whatever. Adjust your strategy accordingly. That turning exactly at 50, highly unlikely. Because the institutions will try to screw with the private investors. And all the people that are sitting there around $50, $51, they're already with their buy orders. So either we're going to undercut it, trigger a bunch of stops, fear selling, and liquidity grab, or they're just going to turn the market before it reaches the $50 level. So anyway, back to today's situation. But that alone is worth your time in the video, I think, personally. Because people really miss this point. They think, ooh, I hear repeatedly and all the time that this zone is the zone. If everybody's talking about it, then it's not the zone, right? It's kind of similar to, if everybody is bullish on a sector, then they're all invested. So who's buying? If everybody's talking about one zone, they all have their buy orders there, then the market very likely not going to stop. Why would you? If you're institutions in the silver market and you know everybody wants to buy at 50, hey, let's turn this market around at 52, start to push it up, and all these gringos will start to jump into the market and they start to be like, oh, now I need to jump in. I'm going to buy at 52.50 and 53 and 54 because it never reached 50. So this is what we're looking at right now. The next day is going to be extremely important. I think the institutions will try to push the silver price down. So I'm not doing anything right now. This is not the time to be the hero. If you followed this channel for a long time, and if you haven't, hit the subscribe button, then you know this is one of the wisdoms that a manager of a family office in Zurich taught me years ago, and that's really true. There are times in the market where you just don't want to be the heroes. Now, we all know the Swiss never want to be the heroes, right? But that's okay. That's a different story. There's truth to this, though, and this is definitely one of the times where don't try to be smarter than the market. The three things that I suffered the biggest losses from when it comes to investing in commodities or ETFs, FX, man, I'm not even touching FX anymore. I got killed like 20 years ago, and that was my hand on the hot stove experience with that, are speculating with leverage, not having your stop loss in place and executing it. And the third one, this is big, trying to be smarter than the market. It'll cost you your shirt, especially if you use it in combination with the other two, which is not applying stop loss or using leverage to be smart in the market. That is how people get killed in the market, and they never come back from it. So right now, we need to see how this plays out. One green candle after the massive 15% sell-off in silver is not enough. It's not enough to say, okay, we're already making a higher low. We're already defending the 50-day. We're already defending the short-term uptrend and the now here purple, the new mid to long-term uptrend. We need a little more. And as you can see, this is exactly how it has worked out in silver here, right? One reversal candle went up a little bit, then that came back, and then, okay, here we go. We started to form structure right here. Same thing here. Doinked on the uptrend, support zone, went up, but then we came back. Okay, and here we started to form structure, and then you can get in. Will you get in on the super duper low? No, you won't. Doesn't matter though. It won't matter. You're still gonna make more money on the upside, and the probabilities are now higher in your favor. And the long-term probabilities, and here we come to the topic that I really want to talk about. And this will be the first of many, but today is the first time we will talk about it in a little bit more depth. And the reason why we talk about it in a little bit more depth and not in a lot more depth is there's not much out there on this topic yet, but it's coming. So long term, I am extremely bullish for the silver price, as you know. And the reason is the short squeeze, the underinvestment of especially American investors, institutional investors in silver, but also the industrial use case with, I believe we're going to see a comeback boom in solar, which is the biggest industrial demand driver by far. Forget jewelry, forget medical devices for silver. And EVs keep growing. But here's the big one. Here is the white elephant in West Africa, if you want to say so. If I ask you what's going to be the two biggest tech revolutions for the next 2 decades, your answer is probably going to be AI, correct, and robotics, humanoid robots, also correct. There's probably a third thing coming that we haven't even talked about yet. Who knows? Let's talk about humanoid robotics. Now, I read a study today actually like 20 minutes before I finished it 20 minutes before I started recording this video, on the amount of silver that is needed in humanoid robots. And nobody's talking about this yet. And we're going to start talking about this now, because this, ladies and gentlemen, this is legit game changing. This is a game changer. So this analysis comes up that one humanoid robot needs about 15 grams of silver per robot. Now, I asked ChatGPT, and I know ChatGPT is not the be-all, end-all, but it's probably better in math than me, okay? And it's also interesting because ChatGPT can't find any data on this yet. Makes sense. They're just developing the robots. But I've been to the flagship store of Tesla in Manhattan, in New York. I have seen the humanoid robot in person. By the way, does look scary. I don't know if I want to have that in my household, but hey, you do you. I personally prefer to have a super attractive, amazing girlfriend in my household over a humanoid robot, but that's just me. Now, ChatGPT says, and this is what came out. I screenshotted their results for you, and I'm going to move my ugly picture up here because I'm not important in this. So as you can see, only rough estimates by ChatGPT, because nobody's talking about this yet, right? Conservative estimate. ChatGPT also even says 20 grams per robot. Base case 50 grams, which is actually 3x the amount that I heard and read in the study that I read, which is the first one that I read in any of this concerning the robot market. Now, this is the part where it gets really interesting. For 1 million humanoid robots, that would mean, in the conservative estimate, an additional 20 tons of silver demand. On a silver market that, may I remind you, for the 6th year in a row is already in a supply deficit. Now, look at what the conclusion of ChatGPT is. I'm going to read it for you. So humanoid robots could become a silver demand driver, but solar panels, EV, and electronics are still much larger silver markets today. Obviously, the humanoid robot market is just starting out. But if you listen to what Musk is saying, who clearly wants to reposition Tesla as a robot company, there are going to be breakthroughs coming. Now, do you think with the technological advances that we're doing, that worldwide we're going to have 1 million humanoid robots working, running around on Earth, doing whatever they're doing, thinking whatever they're thinking? I don't really want to know what humanoid robots are going to think. In 10 years. I do. And I think, honestly, 1 million, probably conservative. I'm not saying they're definitely not going to be in Germany. Come on, the Germany are just technophobes. But in the US, in China, in Japan, in Korea, where they need humanoid robots because the societies are aging and the demographics are terrible, yeah, 1 million units among 3 of the biggest economies in the world, and South Korea is up there as well. I can absolutely see that. And that means another 20 tons of silver demand hitting the market in the next decade. Nobody's talking about it. If we get the base case according to ChatGPT, it'll be 50 tons of silver. And now, all of a sudden, the massive silver imports that China is doing starting to make a lot of sense. I was talking about it in geopolitical terms, and that still applies, even more so because it would mean that now China has a stranglehold on the silver market if they are able to corner the silver market for some countries, obviously not for all. For technological advances, for solar energy, for EVs, but specifically for robotics. And that also now makes sense that they need part of this probably in China itself, because they need a lot of silver for their massive solar industry, for the EV industry, and for the robotics industry, which is coming. So, when things gonna get rocky with silver in the coming weeks, if they do, and you're gonna hear all these naysayers tell you, the silver boom is over, silver's going back to 50, it's never coming back, we've peaked already. Just remember, the schnitzel guy in the Knicks outfit, he told me about that robotics thing. I'm gonna keep researching that. And there will be more. We are way, way, way ahead of the curve on this one. Right? There will be more research coming out. They will talk about it. And every time we're going to get new robot stories with humanoid robots, and they will be coming out, we get closer and closer of the market starting to think, hey, what's actually in these robots? What kind of commodities? What's used in it? What do they need? And then things can turn really quickly. We know this with the market. But even if it's not quickly, even if it's going to take a while, 20 tons of silver demand in a market that's in a supply deficit and will be likely be in it for the time being because there's simply not enough silver produced in the world. Wow. If you watch this channel, you know I gave you a price target of silver 500 as my long-term price target in the super cycle for silver in, I think, beginning of February. You can find it in the archives here. Yeah, this just gonna support the case for this price target. And that means if we just keep our cool now and don't get infected with a panic and buy Buffett style, get greedy when everybody else gets fearful, we really have a chance to make game-changing money with the silver bull market. That's it for today. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Let's go Knicks.